Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed your dinner tonight. And before we proceed with our program, I'd like for you to offer up a round of applause for our wait staff and our cooks and everybody tonight for putting together that fabulous meal. And I hope that you won the auction item that you were. Who got the bottle of Jack Daniels and the fire extinguisher? I want to know that. Oh, well, there you go. That's easy to pick out. Well, congratulations to all our winners of the auction tonight. Next, we would like to bring up to the podium once again Corey, who is going to introduce our special guest this evening.
Hi, everyone. We just have one quick announcement to let you know that there's a glitch in our software program. So if you're not able to pay for your basket, but you want a basket, no worries. Just go to the basket area after the event, and we'll invoice you separately tomorrow. So no problem there. So we are privileged to have a very special guest with us tonight. Sam Mataji is the no-handed bandit. He's a burn survivor of 15 years. Sam was a video editor at a local news station before a career change brought him to Mountain State Line Construction Apprentice Training Program. 3 years after nearly finishing his apprenticeship, he suffered fourth-degree burns from 14,400 volts of electricity, which eventually led to the loss of both of his hands. After that traumatic injury, he reinvented himself and became a YouTuber, sharing his techniques for using his prosthetic hands. Sam is a leader in the burn survivor community, an amputee advocate, a former counselor at Burn Prevention Network's Camp Susquehanna, and I'll say a future counselor because we're planning on him coming back, and a friend to many in the Lehigh Valley, including me. His story is one of resilience and the ability to adapt to change. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Sam Wana.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. When I got here, I noticed that there's a town called Bethlehem, and I noticed that The Rock, he grew up kind of in Bethlehem, and The Rock, his mom and my dad are from Samoa, and in Samoa, the greeting word is ta'alofa. Can you guys say ta'alofa? Oh, pretty good. I did hear a Toyota over there, but we'll let it slide this time. Um, so because the name is hard to pronounce, most people call me Sam, and I stand before you today not just as a burn survivor, but I stand here because of emergency care technicians that came to my aid when I was injured. And so I want to be the first one to extend a big thank you to all of you that put your lives on the line to help other people. Even just the decision to do an occupation that where your life is at risk if in certain situations you do your job. And it's because of men and women like you that choose to serve others and step into the darkness of scary situations when everything in you could have said, stay back, don't risk your own safety. So for that, I'm thankful. On December 13th, 2010, started out as a normal day for me. I woke up and got ready to go to work. We went to this Moose restaurant where we would have pancakes and have the safety meeting and talk about safety. And then we started to move uh, a wire that was 14,400 volts onto a new pole. And so after moving the wire, we started to move the secondary wire, which is the bottom side. It's like a lower voltage, 120, 40. That's the electricity that's turning on all these lights and stuff. Um, I was fitting the transformer and I cut a wire, and I was up there in the bucket about 25 feet in the air, and I was holding the neutral and the piece that I had cut off from. I turned to throw it on the ground, and my boss was underneath my bucket. And normally people are like, just throw it on your head. But I was like, oh, I better be nice and throw it behind me. And when I turned, somehow that wire went up and hit the power line, and 14,400 volts was went through my hands. And when electricity hits you, it's fast. It's the speed of light. So it was burning, and it didn't touch very long, but it did a lot of damage. Um, I remember I woke up, and I was tied down to a stretcher, and I was hearing a helicopter, and it was like, and I said, "What's going on?" And the person that was persons, two people were carrying me. They were said to me, "What's your name and what's your address?" And I told them, "My name's Samoana Matangi, and my address is." I'm not gonna tell you guys my address, so stop it. um, and uh, and then I said, "Why are my hands burning?" And then they said the exact same question, and I told them my name and the address, and then pretty soon I was asleep. I woke up and I was in the hospital in Colorado, the burn unit at the University of Colorado. Uh, and at that time, there was a chance that they could save my hands, but they were just waiting to see how much tissue was burned. So they um, injected in me like a dye that you can see in the CAT scans. You doctors know. Uh, so they could see if blood was flowing into my hands. And on the third day, they told me, unfortunately, blood's not flowing to your hands. So you have a choice. You could either keep your hands and risk gangrene and possibly die, or have both hands amputated. And I mean, it's a hard choice to make. ex- And I didn't feel like I made the choice. I just said, I want to live. So go ahead and amputate. Um, and I remember the days after the amputations, there's funny things like I'm a Oakland Raiders fan. Uh, I was waiting for donuts to come flying at my face, and I was in Denver, and so the Raiders happened to be playing the Denver Broncos that weekend, and the Raiders won, and so I have a Facebook picture of me doing a touchdown, except I have no prosthetics on, so it looked like this. Everyone on Facebook was like, "Oh man, what joke is Sam playing now?" And they didn't know that I had been in a serious accident. And I stayed in the hospital for 1 month while the wounds were closing, and then they transferred me to the University of Utah burn unit, and I spent another month in the rehab center over there. And while there, I was working with an occupational therapist. And there's not that many double hand amputee uh, hospitals nowadays. There's starting to be more. My friend can tell you about that, Karen. Uh, but she was trying to explain to me how to do things that she didn't know how to explain how to do. So as you can think, oh, that would work well. Um, and we were Googling lots of stuff like, hey, how does a double hand amputee do this? And nothing. nothing would come up. There was one guy, he was selling a DVD, and it was like $60 for the DVD, and I was like, "Man, that guy's a jerk. Just take advantage of people in need, you know?" And so I said to myself, "I'm gonna when I figure this stuff out, I'm gonna make YouTube videos and put it out there and, do it for free." But there was still that part of the learning how to do stuff. And when I got home, like, the seriousness of the situation set in. Like, before I was a football player, a basketball player, a lineman, all these things that you had to do stuff with your hands, and basically my identity was my hands. I can't do, um, football, basketball without hands is what I was thinking. And so I started to get seriously depressed, and I just felt like that was, like, the darkest hour. I felt like a pioneer of this thing, that I was the only double hand amputee in the whole world at the moment, I thought, and, uh, my life felt really dark. Um, eh, at the moment of darkness, it's hard to take a step when it's so dark, you can't see the direction of which way is best for you. Um, and it required me to take a step, but I was very reluctant. And, after working with some people, I took my first step, and it isn't until many steps later that I start to see the light of the joy of living a life that's full, and the joy of thriving instead of just surviving. Now, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing to move forward in spite of it. It's when that moment of darkness, when you're in that moment, courage is what helps you take that first step. Um, as firefighters and uh, as emergency technicians, you live this truth. There's moments of darkness many times, and you're asked to step into someone else's worst nightmare. Strap on the gear, feel the weight, and walk into what everyone else is running from. And as a burn survivor, I had to learn that courage looks a little different than your courage. For me, courage meant facing the mirror, facing people's stares, facing the uncertainty of a future without hands. Darkness isn't the absence of light, it's the unknown. So we often think about darkness as, oh, there's no light in there, it's dark. But darkness can be the unknown, like what's going to happen. Um, for you firefighters, that darkness is a smoke-filled hallway where you can't see your own hand in front of your face. Uh, for me, was waking up in a hospital bed and not knowing if I would ever be able to work again or be a provider for a family. Um, I didn't even know if people would look at me the same way, like, but as I went along that journey, what I discovered is who we are, we only discover when we step into the dark. We discover our strength, our faith, and we discover each other. In the line of your work, I believe you need to lean on your brothers and sisters. You don't go in alone. And as a survivor, I realized that the same is true. We can't face our darkness alone. Family, faith, community, and even strangers all became on my team. Even the cash register lady that saw me fumbling my credit card and there's a line piling up behind me finally said, "Hey, can I help you?" "Yes, you can." Um, Courage isn't just an act, or courage isn't just an act. It's a spirit. It's something you carry into every situation. It's in the firefighter who runs back into the building one more time. It's in the survivor who takes one more painful step in rehab. It's in the family who rebuilds after tragedy. Courage is contagious. When you show courage, you give others permission to find their own courage. And when I look in the mirror, I'm reminded of two things every day. I'm reminded of the fragility of life, and the courage that work in these life-saving occupations, such as doctors and firefighters and policemen and emergency medical technicians. Uh, my challenge to you is this: never underestimate the power of your courage. Every time you step into the darkness, you're not just saving a life, you're shaping a future. And for the rest of us, let's live with that same spirit of courage. Let's face our fears, our challenges, and our darkness with the same determination that these firefighters and EMT showed when they stepped in the darkness to help others in their darkest hour. I once thought the accident had taken everything from me, including my identity. But standing here, I realize it gave me something. It gave me something too, a deeper respect for the spirit of courage embodied by all of you. Thank you all for stepping into the darkness so people like me could step back into the light. And as you're sitting there wondering, how can I show courage tonight? I invite you to catch on to the contagious spirit of courage that firefighters, EMT use every day. And that is by helping the same people that those firefighters and emergency medical technicians have helped. They need a little bit more help. I see them all the time, different burn camps. Burn Prevention Network, I've experienced seeing young burn survivors taking their first step of um, invite you guys to look at the programs, and there's a code that you could scan so that you can donate to Burn Prevention Network so that we can help those young burn survivors continue on their journey uh, that the firefighters have them stick around for. Invite you that when you're leaving, you'll see firefighters with boots and drop some uh, drop some courage in there. Little boot, okay. I promise that it goes to good use at Camp Susquehanna. That young burn survivors at Camp Susquehanna, they use that spirit of courage, uh, and they not just survive the accident, but thrive. So with that, I leave you guys and pass it on to the next person. I think it's Corey.
Thank you, Sam, for those inspiring words. Really, quite a story. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I invite up to the podium here. He's the chair of the Burn Prevention Network Board of Directors, our Chairman's Award. Would you please welcome with a round of applause Terry Osborne.
Good evening. Before beginning, I would like to thank DeSales University for welcoming us onto their campus and providing us with a great dinner. I would like to acknowledge the planning committee for this evening's Spirit of Courage Award dinner. Their work began several months ago, and their efforts once again have made for a tremendous dinner. If you are part of the planning committee, can you please stand to be acknowledged? Thank you. Additionally, I would like to thank the Spirit of Courage Partner in Prevention Selection Committee. The committee's work began in the spring as they begin the process of receiving nominations and eventually making their final selection of tonight's award winner. If you are a member of the selection committee, would you please stand to be acknowledged? Next, I would like to say thank you to my fellow board members. The work you do to help the Burn Prevention Network fulfill its mission of providing fire prevention education, support to burn survivors, makes our local communities safer places to work and live, and I believe empowers burn survivors to recover from their burn injuries. If you are a member of the Burn Prevention Network Board of Directors, please stand to be acknowledged. Finally, I would especially like to give my thanks to Carissa Vaughn, our Executive Director, and Jessica Beck, our Associate Executive Director. It has been my pleasure to work with both of you. You are truly the heart and soul of the Burn Prevention Network, and we are all very grateful for your efforts. And now for the Chairman's Award. If you live in California or Canada, you have become accustomed to hearing about wildfires. Unfortunately, with changing climate conditions, we are now seeing wildfires in virtually every state, and Pennsylvania is no exception. Our Chairman's Award this year, when discussed with the board feels that if an individual or a group deserving of special recognition, they should be honored. This year, we recognize all the first responders who battled wildfires in 2025 in the state of Pennsylvania. The greatest danger of wildfires in Pennsylvania occurs in the spring, March, April, and May, and then again in the fall, October and November. Debris burning is the leading cause of Pennsylvania wildfires. It is critical for people to check with their townships for burn bans and local ordinance on debris burning. This is especially true today, as we have been more often living under drought conditions. So for all those who spent their time in the forest and in the woods, can we please have a round? As we have heard from Dr. Stokel, there is a certain amount of risk in fighting fires. Last year, 72 firefighters in the United States died in the line of duty, including 7 in Pennsylvania, whose names were enshrined on the National Fall Firefighters Memorial Plaque this past May on the campus of the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. At this time, I would like to offer a moment of silence for those firefighters and also for Captain Bob Gallardi from the Allentown Fire Department. It is the 20th anniversary of Bob Gallardi's line of duty death. We do have members of the Altoona Fire Department here with us. It has been 20 years since we honored Bob at this dinner. So again, if we can have a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. I now invite Corey back up to the podium to present our next award.
The Partners in Prevention Award is given to an individual or group that has done an outstanding job promoting fire safety and burn prevention in the community. These educational efforts must have impacted a significant percentage of the general public or targeted group. Jeremy Searfoss has held many positions in nearly 3 decades in the fire service, with an ever-increasing focus on fire prevention. Prior to being hired in 2001 by the City of Reading Department of Fire and Rescue Services, he served as a volunteer firefighter and certified paramedic. Initially hired as the firefighter crewman on Engine Company 5 in South Reading, he quickly found an affinity for fire prevention, code enforcement, and fire investigation, and became certified as a fire inspector, plans examiner, and fire and explosion investigator. While working as a firefighter on Engine 5, Jeremy also became deputy fire marshal in Muhlenberg Township, Berks County. In this position, he was tasked with ensuring fire and life safety code compliance in the township. This required not only inspecting commercial buildings and high occupancy residential properties, but also ensuring that management, employees, and residents were well versed in fire safety and fire prevention. In 2012, Jeremy was promoted fire prevention lieutenant, City of Reading's Office of Fire Marshal. He coordinated fire safety programs for schools and other community partners and promoted the residential smoke detector program, which equipped owner-occupied properties with smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. In 2015, he was promoted to fire marshal in the City of Reading, where he worked with fire prevention lieutenants to promote fire and life safety, community outreach, and effective code compliance efforts. Jeremy's extensive experience and lifelong dedication to life safety and fire prevention promote the city's citizens and visitors, as well as firefighters and paramedics. Please join me in congratulating Jeremy, Fire Marshal of the City of Reading Department of Fire and Rescue Services, for his lifelong fire and burn prevention efforts. He is escorted by nominator Mike Floor, First Deputy Chief of the Reading Fire Department, and Steve Schneider of Kistler O'Brien Fire Protection, sponsor of the Partners in Prevention Board. Get a picture. Do you want to say anything?
The Spirit of Courage Award is given to individuals or groups who have performed exceptionally courageous acts to save another person from death or serious injury from any fire source. Civilians and first responders may receive this award. And this rescue attempt must have involved a significant degree of personal risk, exposure to either death or severe injury. Now, our honorees have put themselves at great risk to save people who would likely have perished had those individuals not been there. Even when the outcome ends up to be tragic, their effort, their risk is no less. Whether professional or volunteer, first responder or civilian, Spirit of Courage honorees share a selfless commitment to their fellow man and fearless desire to do the right thing. Dr. Steckel, would you please come forward and present our first Spirit of Courage Award?
Give me one moment here. Thank you. Thank you. A day in the life of a police officer involves potential danger from many sources, including fire.
Driving in my car, I was trying to figure out which church I can go to get my ashes that day. Call came in, fire at the bar with the two apartments above it. I was close enough that I could actually see the smoke, and I was probably 2 football fields away from it when the call came in. And as I pull up, I can see a very, very engulfed structure. Flames coming everywhere, and I could see a man running with a ladder. So I said, that's not good. This is an old bar, so below, I think between the grease and everything else, there was a tinder box. I've been to fires before. This was definitely a big boy. I remember running to the building, and I get out, my arms got singed, and I was probably about 10 feet from the building, and they actually got singed because of the heat coming off of that structure. I turned a corner where this gentleman grabbed a house ladder, and there was a couple guys from the road crew there as well. And there was a gentleman up 2 stories up that we could see the smoke bellowing out, and you could just kind of see the whites of his eyes, which was kind of a little freaky to me. We put the ladder up, and it became apparent that he wasn't coming down. So we kind of all looked at each other. I said, well, I guess I'm the police officer. I'm going to go up. These guys held the ladder for me. I give them a lot of credit because, there's debris falling down on us. Electrical wires were starting to come down, and these guys didn't budge. These were citizens. They weren't, first responders. I get up there looking at this, and the window is very small. It's kind of jammed. As I'm sitting there debating on what to do, I know time's running out because I'm starting to choke on the smoke, and I can imagine what this guy's going through because he's in the heart of it. So I made this decision that I'm just going to pull this guy head first on top of me, and we're going to go down the ladder. So I grabbed the guy by the shirt. It was a very small opening. I said, guy, so I grabbed him by his shirt, pulled him face first onto me like this. He's face here. He's going down like a sliding board, going backwards. So as we're going down the ladder, this is a lot of weight on me. I'm thinking to myself, best case scenario, if I fall now, I'm breaking my back. Best case scenario, it's going to hurt. We're going down step by step. Honestly, I'm screaming each step. I'm able to hold on. Guys below me were yelling out 10 more steps. 9 more steps, 8 more steps. I was able to get him down to the bottom without falling. It's amazing to me. This happens Ash Wednesday. And this guy's face, the reason my whole face was covered with soot is because his face was on my face. That's the only reason. So, we're climbing up a ladder that holds 300 pounds, 500 pounds on it. I'm strong. I'm not that strong to carry this guy down. I'm brave, honestly. I'm not that brave. And I'm telling you, I was a vessel that day for my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That was it, plain and simple. He was burned up pretty good. And so we got him across the street in medical attention. And then I took a deep breath. It was a good day for that part of it. Unfortunately, I passed away in that. But I didn't get a third victim, which makes me not happy, but feel the situation. I've been doing this job for a long time. I've seen everything and anything. But this one I'll definitely take with me. I determined then, that I definitely don't want to be a firefighter. I learned this event that I want to be. I'm good with being a police officer. I don't like ladders. I don't like fires. I realize that. So I'm not making a career change. But it was definitely, like I said, it was a moment. There's no question about it. You know, he gave me a big old bear hug when we got down. I'll never forget that. That's something I'll take with me. 23 years doing this job, you get moments like that. That's rare. So it's one of those moments you'll take forever. I can still see it. I can still smell it. So it's one of those.
Please join me in congratulating Christopher Shelley of the Stroud Area Regional Police. Detective Shelley, you are that brave and you are that strong. Thank you for drawing on the faith that saved a man's life. Detective Shelley is escorted by nominator Robert Kohowitz, Lieutenant with the Stroud Area Regional Police.
Our second Spirit of Courage Award also shows the courage demonstrated by police officers who enter a burning home with no gear because time is of the essence.
On November 24th, I was on patrol in the night shift patrol sergeant, and Officer Lindstedt, who's one of the patrol officers that I work with, got on the radio and said that he just pulled up on a house fire.
I was driving back to our police station to swap out my batteries from the drink, and another officer came over the radio and said that there was a fire. So I quickly started making my way over. By the time I got there, I could see the whole front of the building engulfed in flames.
When I arrived, I went over to the side at the time. I didn't know there was an apartment on the second floor. So I went to the front of the business. I saw nobody was there. And Officer Lindstedt informed me that there's an apartment on the second floor. There was one way up to this apartment. There's one staircase to get in, one staircase to get out. And as I started, I could see the fire, and it was spreading. It was spreading quickly.
I had seen him at the bottom of the staircase previously, and by the time I pulled out the fire extinguisher and closed his trunk, he was gone. And he was like, oh, well, he just went inside.
I started up the stairs, and an elderly gentleman greeted me at the door. I informed him that his house was on fire and asked him if there was anybody else inside. And he told me his wife, who was in the back bedroom. So as I entered the apartment, he walked in through the kitchen, and then there was a living room and a long hallway going back to the back bedroom. And as I started in the house, I knew I had time. I just didn't know how much time I had. I remember very distinctly, it was actually kind of eerie, the smoke coming up through the carpet, and it actually looked like a snake, and the apartment was starting to fill with smoke. So I went to the back bedroom, and the door was closed, so I opened the door and was calling out. And I heard the elderly woman in the back say she's in there. So when I opened the door, she was sitting on her bed.
So I ended up making my way to the back of the room where her bedroom was, and Sergeant Hillis was already in there trying to get her out of bed. She was confused because it was the middle of the night. She was an older lady. She probably didn't know what was going on.
I informed her that her house was on fire and we need to go.
So we ended up getting her up, and we escorted her to the front steps. Just seeing the orange glow of the fire.
I just remember being very hot.
From the time I hit the top of the staircase with the older lady, The fire had spread to majority of the front porch and the second story. I could see when I walked out the flames rolling around the corner, hitting the sides of the staircase. So she was very hesitant on going down the staircase.
When we were going down, she was walking. She was in shock, not really knowing what's going on.
I just remember standing in front of her, trying to help her down the staircase, and she kept stopping on the staircase. And my sergeant ended up picking her up and just dragging her down as like the flames rolling over my neck. I didn't really know how close the flames were to catching us, if you will, until I saw his body and footage of that just rolling past the three of us as we were making our way down the staircase. By the time we got down to the bottom, the first fire truck had pulled up. You know, it's just one of those things where we were in the right area at the right time, and we were able to get them out.
From the time we got there until we got them out was probably 2 minutes total, and that fire probably more than quadrupled its size. Another 30 seconds to a minute, they would have been rescuing us too. I've done a lot of stuff in my career over 25 years, and that's the first time I've been on plenty of fires, but I never went inside.
That night, I sat down with the fire chief and the captain and everybody that was there, and they were like, if you and Officer Lindsay, Sergeant Hillis weren't there, there's a good chance they probably would have died. And that was something that kind of stuck with me.
After everything was over, then I thought about it a little bit. Going inside the house without fire gear on, without oxygen, the apartment was filling with smoke. Afterwards, that was probably a little risky.
Please join me in congratulating Sergeant Jason Hillis and Officer Nick Bramick of the Wilsonboro Fire Police Department. You persevered through escalating conditions to save an elderly couple. Without your urgency, they never would have made it out. Sergeant Hillis and Officer Bramick are escorted by nominator Robert Llewellys, President of Wilsonboro Professional Firefighters Union, IAFF Local 1914, and Christian Meehan, Wilsonboro Police Chief.
An automatic fire alarm in an apartment building is often ignored by the residents. But fortunately, the firefighters in Pottsville take it seriously. And one resident had the resourcefulness to use her cell phone flashlight.
It was right before the fire came.
It was dispatch as an automatic fire alarm. We have a group of guys that sort of gets it together, and doesn't matter how it's dispatched, we act like it is. And somewhere along the way, I guess somebody heard something that made it sound like it was more than just an alarm.
First thing I'm thinking is multiple apartments, a lot of people.
When we arrived, we had wisps of white smoke coming out of the third floor.
And as we were stretching one of our lines, apartment entrance, things started to progress rapidly then.
Our chief let us know report entrapment, so make sure we get a search. Life safety was number one concern.
We started making entry into the building, and by the first landing, we encountered a heavy smoke condition. The exterior chief reported fire starting to vent out one of the apartment windows, and then we knew we had a pretty serious fire.
If you look up into the room, you can see the melting blinds, like they're starting to melt down.
It was banked down in pitch black. So by the time we it had.
You say zero visibility, it literally is, the smoke is to the floor and you cannot see anything. Kurt was already through with the hose and Jared had gone in, and the moment he went in, he was out of sight.
The occupant of the fire room had left her door open, so that certainly helped the fire to grow. We were forced to crawl into the apartment to see the fire.
There isn't a lot of time in these conditions. Somebody somewhere, we don't know where they are. And I said, I'm going right. And I right doing what's called a primary search.
While I was standing there, I was feeding hose to my captain at the door, and I heard someone scream, "Help, help, I can't breathe." And when I looked to my left, she had her phone flashlight up in the smoke. I was able to see her standing there. Initially yelled to her, I said, "Ma'am, come this way." She turned back and ran into her apartment, so I had to chase her a little bit.
Firefighter McCabe has assistance, so myself and firefighter McCabe and firefighter Saville assisted her to the stairs.
Well, going down the steps, she kept telling me that she can't breathe and she felt like she was going to fall over. It definitely did make me speed up, and I was standing below her, so if she did fall, it was not going to be good for me either.
Towards the end, we were kind of almost carrying her out of the building. Paramedics and EMTs were outside of the door waiting for us. At that point, I had gone back in and back upstairs to help with my fellow firefighters.
After we assisted the victim, I followed the hose line and met up with Captain Shellhammer.
My job as a nozzleman was to put the fire out. So I continued into the fire apartment. As I progressed, the heat was getting much worse. I came across the first window in the living room, was able to ventilate the window to help get some of the heat smoke out of there. And then we were able to advance into the fire room and get the fire knocked down.
You get reports of fires while everybody's out, but you do not know until you do your searches. Myself and firefighter Saville proceeded with our search, and when it came up as negative, we proceeded to open the walls up and check for extension.
Everyone was pitching in what needed to be done from a firefighting point of view. Having a save and a fire service is the perfect outcome.
You know, going into this that it's dangerous. When you actually save a life and give somebody opportunity to another day, I don't know if you could really describe that feeling. Just everything, the training that we do, just pays off. You know, if you get to save one life.
I've never saved someone before. I can't say it felt any different, honestly. I know what I signed up for. So
when there is a fire alarm, take it seriously, have a plan, have an evacuation point, and always, when you hear a smoke alarm or a fire alarm, get in the mindset that there is actually a fire and I got to get out of the building to safety.
We have a very good group who is very well trained. And when that report of someone still in the building, they went right into search mode to try and find that out. I'm sure it's in the back of everyone's mind every time we respond on a call, but we know the risk going into it. And the sense of duty, I think, that most people have. We enjoy helping the community, we enjoy what we do, and that's all that we need to have.
Please join me in congratulating Captain Kurt Shellhammer and firefighters Tom Biddle, James Blake, Jarrett McCabe, and Sam Saville of the City of Pottsville Bureau of Fire. You are persevered through thick black smoke. Oh, good. You persevered through thick black smoke and flames in this fast-moving fire to save an elderly woman. Our award recipients are escorted by nominator James Musician, Chief of the City of Pottsville Bureau of Fire.
Our next award shows that despite high heat and thick smoke, volunteer firefighters who also work together in their other lives are willing to do anything to give someone a chance at life.
So that morning, normal morning, getting up, getting ready for work, and I received a phone call from one of my fire officers. He said, "Hey, the house is around the corner with the pillars. It's really rolling. There's fire blowing out of the rear of the house and the roof." I walked out of my house, turned around, looked over the roof line of my house. The sky was dark over in that corner.
Our phones all went off. My boss, Barry, he looked at his phone. He said, "We're getting a fire."
I remember it was plain as day. It was 6:22. All of our phones went off. I told Brian and Christian, I said, grab your gear. We got to go to this.
So we looked at each other without hesitation. Everybody ran to their personal vehicles, grabbed their gear, and the only gear that we had was actually just the structural.
When I pulled in the driveway, it was a bi-level home. There was abundant amount of fire coming from the right rear corner of the house. The caller was inside of the house and stated he had 2 elderly parents that he was trying to get out.
As we were going, we got confirmation with entrapment that there was somebody on the other line with 911. Then and there, we knew we had to step it up.
Pulled into the front yard, very large front yard. A lot of fire from the roof, smoke all over the place.
I went to the front door of the house, evaluated everything, didn't hear anything, but I did notice the house was basically breathing. You could see the windows kind of flex in, flex out. The siding, you could hear it kind of crackle, and just the whole structure was moving a little bit, which tells me one of two things. It is starving for oxygen, or there's so much pressure inside, it needs an outlet. I just told my guys, we can't open this door. Within 10 seconds of that coming out of my mouth, the front windows blew out.
I heard a loud bang. That was the front window getting sucked in, and the garage door actually exploded and blew out.
So at that point, I know I turned to somebody and I said, now's our chance.
I remember thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, all that we have is our turnout gear. You know, we have no fire truck, we have no air packs, but we knew that we had to go in and try to do something.
Once we were inside, we were met with heavy smoke. We had to crawl inside just to look for the first victim.
You could see maybe a foot from the floor to where the smoke level was. In a matter of a second, it went to no visibility and very high heat.
We had a hood on, our helmets on, but our faces were fully exposed.
You feel the heat right above you from the flames just rolling over the ceilings.
I'm looking pretty much eye level into the kitchen, and I saw a leg, and I said, there's somebody right there. We got to try to get him.
I remember plain as day. It's one of those images that's never going to leave me. His phone was facing up, still connected with 911. You could see the glow of the phone.
Him and I basically pulled the guy down the steps, got him onto the front patio, and he was unconscious at that point. We realized there were still the two people in there.
Engine 7 from Birdsboro Fire Department showed up. We jumped in the back and grabbed our air packs. 2 of their guys went in with the line, while the 3 of us, myself, Barry, and Christian, went back in.
I went down the hallway, maybe 15 feet or so.
They stated that, hey, I need your light. As soon as I turned on the light, I was met with a body part of the second victim. A couple feet away from the second victim, I found third victim.
They went in and were able to pull the other 2 individuals from the far bedroom. Both came out of the house, were transferred to EMS. Unfortunately, the first 2 were deceased basically upon arrival at the hospital.
Once I stepped outside with the victim, that's when I started having a hard time breathing.
I kind of collapsed with her. Didn't really know the extent of my conditions. We were checked out by EMS. They were hustling, bustling around us. I didn't quite understand why.
All these guys that know me were coming up. Brian, are you okay? It finally hit me that I wasn't.
The other 3 guys that were with me, they all ended up being transported to hospitals. 2 ended up being moved up to Lehigh, the burn center.
They were just looking over me, checking and watching my vitals and all that. The next day they said, everything looks great.
All I know is I was in the trauma bay. That's the last I remember. The next day I woke up, I was in Lehigh Valley, and they said that we were just taken off a ventilator.
My airway can possibly close, is get inflamed. They want to take a precaution and put me in a ventilator, and ended up waking up in Lehigh Valley.
Not knowing what my other colleagues were going through. I was a wreck for a while.
You know, the 3 of us work together. We've been together for a long time.
Our main goal is to get there as fast as we can And if there is life and property to save, we're going to make every attempt possible to do so. In that moment, you don't think about yourself. You don't think about what could happen to you. You process that later. We all talked. We said, were we dumb for doing that, going in there like that?
Did we do the right thing? Absolutely. There's an old saying, you risk a lot to save a lot.
Please join me in congratulating Chief Scott Gulo and firefighter Barry Redinger with the Friendship Fire Company of Geigertown and Deputy Chief Brian Ryan and Lieutenant Christian Sextos Flores with the Exeter Township Fire Department. Put yourself at risk when you didn't have face masks or air packs, but you never gave up on these people. Our award recipients are joined by nominator Corey Heimbach, State Trooper, Fire Marshal, Pennsylvania State Police.
Our final Spirit of Courage Award demonstrates how two firefighters risked their lives in the fast-moving fire with children trapped inside.
So it was April 26th. It was not a normal day for us. I mean, we have 11 on duty at a time in the city. 5 of those 11 were not supposed to be at work that day, including myself. Altoona is a old third-class city. So a lot of old homes, homes in construction. We were on a basement fire around 10:30 at night. Luckily, it didn't amount to too much. We cleared that basement fire at 10:34 at night, and this incident came in at 10:37. We were dispatched multiple calls indicating a building on fire with multiple kids trapped in an attic. First engine on scene, just 2 individuals. Immediately upon arriving on scene, I went straight for victim rescue of the 3 children. We went up to the porch roof. I made one first up, grabbed a small child, brought him down to the porch roof, handed them off to Captain Caldwell. I made a second climb up the ladder, grabbed a second small child out of the attic. At the time I handed that second kid off, Captain Vukovic, who made the initial entry, got trapped on the second floor under extreme fire conditions, had to issue a mayday. Something changed and immediately cut off his route. He attempted to find a way out, and then from that point, the fire was just too intense. So Captain Caldwell indicated he had to go help our down firefighter, and I still had 1 kid in the attic to try to rescue. I proceeded back up the ladder to the last child, which was a 17-year-old. Something changed. Maybe the attic door failed. All the smoke, all the heat, all the fire then came straight to our attic window that we were trapped in. Smoke was getting thick. Visibility was 0. I made the decision that her airway needed to be protected, so I put my air mask on her. So my airway was exposed for 6 or 8 minutes, holding my face piece onto her face. I used my body to kind of cover her up, pulled her out as far as I could, hug her, tried to keep the heat and smoke off of her. When the ladder truck came up, you had Engineer Kuhn and Deputy Chief Foxworth. They were able to smash the window, and we were able to talk her onto the roof ladder, and then we were able to pull her into the pocket of the ladder truck, take her down to street level to the paramedics. They already got the captain out. He had severe burns. As I was on my way off of that ladder, Captain Caldwell, who made entry into that second floor, found another victim. And immediately my mind went back to victim rescue. So I made entry to help him. That individual that was located was deceased, and the decision was made for the investigation and for the coroner just to protect that individual in place. And as soon as I came out, that's when it all started to hit me. Couldn't swallow, fell to my knees, trying to breathe, gasping for air, spitting up all kinds of brown, deep black, acrid stuff out of my lungs. The chief of the department noticed that and immediately had me taken to UPMC Altoona, which is the local hospital. And they determined, due to my airway injury, that a better suited hospital was Pittsburgh. 11 somethings when I got transported. And I just sent my wife a text just to let her know, going to the hospital, I'm okay. She came to the hospital. She got her parents to come middle of the night to sit with the kids. They were sleeping. They didn't know anything happened. Early morning hours the following day from Pittsburgh Hospital, we FaceTimed my son. He was asking questions. He wouldn't look at the phone. It was hard talking to him about it. He goes with me to all kinds of fire stuff, so he understands. So now every time I go to work or whatever, it's please be careful, give you a hug and all that kind of stuff. He's old enough now, he's starting to realize how dangerous the job actually is. My lungs were operating at 73%. We did a medication for 6 weeks. I was off duty for 6 weeks. And that brought my lungs back up to 79% capacity. Ended up in Cleveland, Ohio at the Cleveland Clinic a couple weeks after that, just to do a follow-up. And my lungs have diminished to 70%. The doctors were saying it's not a physical injury, it's a functional injury. So there might not possibly be any fix to it. With my throat, it'll just randomly swell shut. After a few minutes of trying to wait for it to release, finally it does release, but it's a couple of minutes of panic because you're not sure if it's going to open or not. The biggest thing I learned from this event is the support is there. The guys knew I couldn't play with my kids as much as I wanted to, so they brought the fire trucks to my house. They played with my kids. The outpouring of support was overwhelming. All in all, there was 4 victims of the fire, 1 deceased. 7 firefighters were injured. All have since been released and back to duty. The odd thing about this incident is nothing went wrong. We were hurt in the process of our duties, but that's just part of it. Everything came together. Training came together. Everybody knew their role. Everybody knew their job. We're just fortunate that basement fire that we were at 3 minutes prior was not. Had that been a full-blown house fire, unfortunately, those kids would not have made it.
Please join me in congratulating Captain Cameron Sunderland and Captain Nicholas Wukovich of the Altoona Fire Department. Captain Wukovich, you were inside when the fire flashed over. And Captain Sunderland, you sacrificed your safety when you shielded this girl with your body and gave her your air pack. Captain Sunderland and Captain Wukovich are escorted by Nominator Adam Free, Chief of the Altoona Fire Department.
Do I look good?
You look great, man.
I think a good word to describe what we just witnessed is wow. After hearing those stories and watching those videos, that is something else. Extraordinary stories. I know I personally am truly humbled and inspired, and I'm sure you all are as well, for these individuals and group efforts in trying to do everything in their power to help others, people they've never met, people who are having their worst day. We can't say thank you enough. But here we are tonight. We hope to convey our deepest appreciation to you. And thank you once again. I now would like to invite up Mark Langbarski. He is the Administrator for Patient Care Services at Lehigh Valley Hospital, Cedar Crest, to present the Walter J. Okunski Phoenix Award.
Good evening, everybody. Like the mythical phoenix, this award symbolizes new life after fire. It is a reminder that even in catastrophic suffering, there is opportunity to flourish. The burn team sees firsthand the suffering the burn survivors experience and the strength, courage, and resilience it takes to rebuild their lives. We have chosen for this award a burn survivor who embodies strength and determination. Jason Scott went to work one day and didn't return for 50 days later. While operating an 18-wheeler carrying hot tar, the truck suffered mechanical failure, turned over, and Jason was knocked unconscious. The truck cab began to fill with hot tar and covered his entire body. Jason sustained severe burns that required multiple surgeries and skin grafting. He nearly lost his arm and endured lengthy, painful dressing changes. At that time, he was ready to give up. It was one of those moments that he realized he had a choice to continue to suffer and let the injury overcome him, or show his gratitude to the people that were helping him. It was then that he began to heal mentally and emotionally as well as physically. He became more receptive to therapy, counseling, and open communication. He began to see his survival as having a purpose. He wanted to show that he can do anything. Jason left the burn center after 6 weeks. For the past 2 years, he was showing unwavering commitment to his healing, attending weekly appointments, undergoing follow-up procedures, and adapting to these profound changes in his life. He continues to make progress towards his rehabilitation goals. He's been attending the Burn Center's monthly support group and quickly became a valued presence. He is engaged, eloquent, and deeply empathetic. He shares his journey with humility and uplifts others by highlighting their accomplishments. He regularly seeks to understand his peers and offers support whenever and however he can. He brings hopefulness and humor to the group in a way that only he can. Earlier this year, Jason had the idea to conduct a toy and game drive for children based on burn recovery. He was able to collect more than 400 items for this cause. He embodies growth and generosity, meeting each day with a calm resolve and deeply held desire to find greater purpose and helping others.
I'm coming to terms with that this is bigger than me. But if I can be a vessel for a greater good, then I have to. See, once you know better, before I was in the type of transition, driving the truck and carrying a hazardous material. This particular night, I was carrying tar. It was a mechanical issue that was beyond my control. And the truck ended on its side with me being unconscious. You know, hot tar started coming in through the back of the cab, got on my left arm and my hand. And the only thing I saved my life was my hair being down that night, because it prevented the tar from getting on my neck. It was horrific. When I felt the truck start to go over, I pretty much thought it was over. I was hoping that I wasn't going to injure anyone else. That was my main focus. I pretty much figured it was over. But I woke up with a bright flashlight in your eye, screaming, driver, 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 because nobody's coming into the truck because there's hot tar leaking everywhere. So it was a rebirth of sorts, because I had to save myself because no one was coming to save me. And I even had to put my hand in the car to prop myself up, to climb up, to get out the truck.
Wow.
I say it's a rebirth because it was like coming out of that primordial ooze almost from thoughts of certain death. And then I woke up and it was surreal. I wasn't fully aware of how devastating my injuries were. I almost lost my arm. It came a point where I couldn't take the pain anymore. It was unbearable. And so I hit bottom. But then I had a choice. I had a choice to suffer and let this injury become me and become me, or I could show people that are helping me, how grateful I am that I know you're putting me through this so I can.
What I noticed was a real openness to the community and learning more. That's where I noticed that there was a real shift and a desire to learn. So I definitely saw you find your voice and find the helper in your voice. And you have to be brave to do that.
I was in group homes growing up, and so I already had trust for the medical profession. But once I hit the bottom, defense, I made a choice to be receptive to therapy, counseling. It gave me a window into a functional, active, happy life, past surgeries, and I left work one day and didn't come back. I'm different. And again, because I felt like I was a new piece of clay, I could mold this. So I didn't forget about my past struggles that I've had and success and triumph. Everything wasn't bad. But the feelings that I had prior to my accident, my idea that I can fix things on my own without other people's help, were no longer feelings after the accident. So I knew that change was an active thing, but I had to change. Had to give it a try. And it was one of the best things that I did because, again, it opened my eyes to I'm not going through this. And over time, I realized that I had a lot to offer. Where I'm thinking about therapy as a career, but it wouldn't have been a thought if it wasn't for this group. Once I left the hospital, where I go to therapy in a circle, I had the idea, the best things coming in. Could we do a toy drive? They said yes. They were all aboard. We got a call for response. I think we brought in 500 pieces.
That was a huge impact you had. And it started with something you experienced. Like, hey, how can we make that experience better for other people? For us to see someone use it as an opportunity to become a better person and to become a better person at helping other people. It deserves recognition.
Only good can come from good. It needs to be done. And I recognize that now. Rewarding and fulfilling to be acknowledged. I'm appreciative, but I feel like I have so much more to give. I'm sincere. For a number of reasons, for the acknowledgement, one, and for being able to do things for other people. It helps me as well. I'm sorry if I'm getting emotional. Good stuff.
It is my great pleasure to present the Walter J. Okunski Phoenix Award to Jason Scott for his desire to reinvent himself and doing good by helping others.
Good evening. So first, I want to thank God. And anything good that you hear from me tonight comes from God. And if there's some mistakes, it's my fault. All right. So my therapist said recently that I need to cry. I got all this built up tension in me, but I don't think I want to cry for everybody. I just might, because a lot of people came up here tonight and spoke about courage, but there's also that spirit part that people forget about. That spirit is an energy, and we have to recognize it. So it might not always be courage. It might be a sadness, be a happiness. but just embrace that spirit, especially when it's coming from a genuine place. And so I want to thank those people that showed courage in helping me. That showed courage in helping me in my accident. I want to thank the nurses at Lehigh Valley for putting up with me. I want to thank my lady Johnson for also putting up with me, but for going the extra mile. It's hard going from dependence to dependence. And when you become dependent, you learn who really loves you. And I appreciate you for that. And I want to thank my mom. Just thank you. Thank you, everybody. That's it.
I think you're all in agreement with me tonight that it has certainly been a big evening of inspiring examples of courage and in the face of danger and adversity. We have been moved by the stories and motivated by the dedication of those who demonstrate what it truly means when you care for others. As we conclude tonight, I want to thank you on behalf of the Valley Preferred Spirit of Courage Cabinet for joining us to honor these heroes and for supporting our continuing efforts to prevent the devastation of fire and burn injuries. Now, as you leave this evening, it has been mentioned times tonight, that firefighters will be positioned at the exit to accept your donations to Give Burns the Boot campaign. So please give generously if you can. A QR code is also in your program on page 17. And remember that the funds raised tonight will go toward helping young burn survivors at Camp Susquehanna, as well as burn survivor support programs provided by LBHN Regional Burn Center. Thank you in advance for your generosity. A few housekeeping notes. All the award recipients should come to the stage before you leave to pick up the award box that it came in. And fire company representatives who displayed their helmets in front of the stage, please remember to pick them up. You might need them. If you won a basket tonight, congratulations. You are to go to the table where the baskets are located to claim your prize. And we want to congratulate all our winners. And thanks to all those who bid on all the donated auction items. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please rise, we will formally retire our national colors. Color Guard, please retire the colors.
Right face. Retire the colors. Right face. Forward, march.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give our color guard a nice round of your applause, please. With that, we remind you that this evening about selflessness, sacrifice, and overcoming insurmountable odds is all about heroes, the ones we celebrate tonight, and the ones who we are all capable of becoming. We thank you, first responders, EMTs, police officers, for responding to that call for help and for caring so selfishly about others. When that pager goes off, ladies and gentlemen, please be safe. Everybody goes home. God bless and good night.